Hi everyone, Dr. Suneel Dhand, internal medicine physician. Welcome to another video. 3 reasons why I think there's absolutely no point in seeing a doctor. It's very sad that I would have to say this, but I've come to that conclusion. And I personally think that most medical interactions, for myself anyway, have been completely useless, and I will do anything to avoid them. Now, of course, I'm not suggesting that if you have something which is urgent, an emergency situation, or a worrisome symptom, that you don't see a medical doctor. Of course you should. In fact, one thing that I think the medical profession and hospitals are good at is fixing acute situations like a broken bone, overwhelming sepsis from a bacterial infection. Hospitals and doctors can fix you very quickly, and I'm very proud to be a part of that when I work in the hospital practicing acute care. But that is it. As far as I'm concerned, doctors, hospitals are very good at emergency situations only, but everything else, I personally go a different route and I avoid medical interactions as much as possible. And I'm going to explain to you why in this video. Number one, I'm a doctor myself. Of course, this needs to be said. I know that I come from a unique position with medical knowledge, but I know lots of other people, whether they're in the medical profession like nurses or other people who think logically, whether they work in IT, whether they're engineers, even plumbers, who think logically and they do their best to avoid medical interactions because, like me, they don't believe in the system. So they will go online, despite what you may hear. Online is a great resource. I take great offense with many medical professionals out there who seem to scoff at the fact that their patients look things up online. Of course you should look things up online. Any doctor who is intimidated by that is not worth their salt. I love it when I deal with patients who have done their own research and are asking me hard questions, because that's what I'm there for, and it's your body. You should research things carefully. And nowadays there are so many resources out there to try to get answers to your problems and even go the non-conventional route if it's right for you. Again, any urgent issue, you may well need to see a doctor, but there are lots of other issues out there that can be fixed outside of the system. And I've talked to you before about how I even get my own blood test done, even though I've always had good insurance. I don't want to get sucked into the system. So I pay out of pocket. I go to a lab. Lots of labs in America, you can simply order your own labs online. You can go, you can get them done. And I know lots of people who are not even in medicine who get labs done, and then they can see the results. And if something is abnormal, they can go and speak to their doctor afterwards. But most of the time you can see very clearly, it will be marked what tests are abnormal and what tests are normal. Number two, I have seen what the routine medical interaction is like, particularly in primary care these days. I've accompanied other family members. I've of course witnessed many of these interactions myself, being in healthcare, and I've heard many stories and experiences about what a typical medical interaction is like nowadays. Often barely enough time to ask you what's wrong. For a lot of the time of the interaction, the doctor isn't even looking you in the eye. And again, this isn't always the doctor's fault. The bureaucracy nowadays is overwhelming. The doctor will be turned around, looking at their screen, going through tick boxes, typing away, maybe trying to throw injections at you. What is the point of that? Why can't a doctor look me in the eye and say, Suneel, how is your health and well-being? Tell me about yourself. How can we lift your level of health? It's not all about tick boxes. It's not an assembly line, but that is what healthcare has become. Routine primary care interaction, if you can even get a primary care interaction. So that is why I think personally, well, what is the point of that? And I have lots of family members and friends, some in medicine, some not in medicine, who feel the same way. They don't get anything out of this medical interaction that occurs nowadays. And number three, the system is completely broken. I've already touched on this. The medical system is completely and utterly shattered to pieces. I don't want to plug myself into it. I've seen what's happened to other people. As soon as you are plugged into the medical industrial complex, you will be on a treadmill of different specialist visits, at least in the United States. Overprescribed, you will be over-investigated. No thank you. And again, of course, I accept the fact that as a doctor, I'm coming from a privileged place, having medical knowledge, but I know lots of people who are not medically trained who feel exactly the same way, and they know that the best way to not be part of a broken system is to not need the system. So what's the best way to do that? Of course, it is to focus on lifestyle. Of course, there are no guarantees in life, but try your best to have the right diet, to move around as much as possible, exercise, work on any stress in your life, sleep enough every night. All of these things will help to raise your health and well-being, and hopefully mean that you won't be a part of the medical industrial complex for a long, long time. You won't need them. In the United States, the medical system, as far as I'm concerned, is a complete and utter scam. I will do anything possible to stay away from the system, keep myself away from doctors, keep myself away from hospitals, aside obviously from when I'm working there. But of course, if and when that day comes that you really need help, hopefully the system will be there for me or anyone else. But in the meantime, no thank you. I don't want to be part of a system which is a complete and utter scam. So those are 3 reasons then why I believe there's no point, and I have little interest, if I can help it, in seeing a doctor. I don't think the system is there to raise my level of health and well-being. The system is there to get me plugged into the complex so that I'm on a treadmill and I will be simply another person on a conveyor belt, and I'll do everything possible to avoid that if I can help it. So for the last time, I will say again, I am not saying that if you have something urgent or some worrisome symptoms that you shouldn't seek help. I think that there are many things that the medical establishment is good at. One is fixing emergencies, but there are even more things that the medical establishment and the current paradigm and the way the medical profession is set up are not good at. I think they frequently outweigh the good, and that's a very sorry state of affairs indeed. Thanks everyone for watching. Do leave a comment down below. Feel free to share your thoughts. Check out the links in the description below for my website and the other work that I do. Hit the like button if you like this video and the subscribe button for more similar videos in the future. We will speak again very soon.